Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So what a day. So much excitement. But it's early and there's a lot more, and I believe Bitcoin will moon if this happens. What is this? What event am I talking about? Well, let me explain and talk about everything else in the world of markets and crypto and Bitcoin. So, welcome, guys. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Hey, Bitcoin is right back above 25. We know this morning, Bitcoin started out hot, real hot, pumped up above 26, as high as 26.5. Then we kind of cooled off a little bit, but you could see clearly, we are now bouncing off this 24.3 as a support. I mean, take a look at it. You could see 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, right? That is very, very positive, even though we're not as high as 26,000 this morning, right? But we are definitely higher than yesterday and the weekend and the week after that, right? So we are definitely moving in the right direction. Now, what pumped up Bitcoin? What caused it to go up? An entire crypto market cap to now sit at 1.1 trillion when just last week we were at like 930 billion. We jumped up a huge amount within a very short amount of time. Well, of course, I think you guys know. Fear over banks and bank runs. We had a couple of collapses, right? And we had a horrible day overall with banks, right? And whenever people are fearful about banks, that's actually a good thing, because that's why Bitcoin was created. You had a whole bunch of money flow out of banks and into Bitcoin, right? That is very, very positive. And there's going to be more. A lot more about SV Bank and its bailout by the Fed and FDIC, right? And what about these other banks? Here's one, Charles Schwab, right? This CEO just bought a whole bunch while stocks were low, right? A lot of people took advantage, but regardless, I don't think what we're seeing with banks is over. I think the contagion is still spreading, may be contained for now because the Fed and FDIC and Biden are stepping in, trying to plug the gaps, right? But it's just a matter of time the floodgate opens, and plus what they're doing is just going to add to more inflation. But fortunately, this morning we had a good CPI reading, right? I covered it this morning. I'm not going to cover it again. But fortunately, we had CPI reading showing we are on our way down, right? So that is very, very positive. But still, there are many, including even some of the biggest banks out there. Goldman Sachs no longer expects the Fed to raise rates in March, right? And I've been saying, I have a feeling that next week when the FOMC meeting happens and we have that press conference, which I will stream once again, I have a feeling Powell is going to be very dovish and say no rate hike this time around. There may be more afterwards, but this next one that's coming next week, I believe he is going to say, no, we're not going to do anything for now because we want to see how conditions are, especially since the CPI reading shows inflation is coming down still, right? But we were on the verge of another financial disaster before they stepped in with this new facility loan program, right? So I think the Fed is going to be very, 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 very careful about this next rate hike. And Biden is also in his year because Biden said, hey, we want to make sure Americans still trust banks and we're not going to have a massive exodus of money, right? So, Biden's in his year and others are in his year. All the other board governors are probably in Powell's year, right? So I think this is that event. What will cause Bitcoin to moon and continue further? Well, a couple of things. Number one, if banks continue to collapse, it's going to help Bitcoin and solidify its case, right? As a store of value, as a place people can park their money, especially if they don't trust banks. But more importantly, I think this will be absolutely huge if the Fed sends a dovish message saying, okay, we're not going to raise the Fed fund rate, right? And possibly just stop altogether. They could even be super dovish and say, hey, we don't need to hit our goal of 5% or even 5.25 or 5 or 6, or some people have said, right? We're good at where we are because we don't want to overreach, overstep. You know, every reporter is going to be asking Powell the same thing. Are they afraid of overstepping and destroying the economy? And we're starting to see it with banks already, right? I don't know. That's just me. I know right now this is showing 21% chance, 0 rate hike. A 79% chance, 25 basis. But I think as we get closer to the event, this 21% will start going up. That's just me, right? But as for inflation, of course, it still exists, still very high. And this is what it looks like long term, right? Regardless of short term, this is how you opt out. Because if you look on the left side, it shows inflation since 1950 skyrocketing, okay? And then on the right side, it shows your buying power decreasing basically to 0. Okay? That has been happening over the last 5, 6, 7 decades. Hasn't changed. And it will never change because the U.S. government continues to print more and more money. Even outside of crisis mode, they print more every single year. We are in deficit every single year. We accrue more deficit every single year. So over time, your money is being inflated to nothing until it becomes absolutely worthless, right? So regardless, near term, long term, it's important to note that you need to opt out. You need to invest in something that will not inflate away like paper money. That's where Bitcoin comes in, right? So good stuff. Good stuff indeed. As for Bitcoin itself, you know what? The holders, not fazed by what has been happening, obviously. Long-term holders, still sky high, all-time high, 67.7% of Bitcoin has not moved in over 1 year and continues to go higher and higher and higher and higher, right? Look at the points on this chart where Bitcoin, or the number of Bitcoin held for over a year, starts dropping. And you can clearly see there's been dips, right? Major dips. When did they happen? They happen when we have a parabolic top. But look at all the previous times before that, when Bitcoin hit a very high percentage of long-term holders and long-term Bitcoin just being held. Whenever you see that happen, guess what? That's when a new high starts forming and eventually peaks out, right? And we're at one of those points right now. Number of Bitcoin held for over 1 year, all-time high, higher than the previous 2 highs, right? So imagine this top, this Bitcoin top, how high it's going to head to, considering how much of the supply is being held right now. And that number will only increase. Absolutely fantastic. And in terms of our current trajectory, you could see versus the last 2 halving events, right? Very similar. We had a blow off top, started coming down, right? The period where you're kind of like low, down and out and fearful, right? Months upon months upon months upon months, and overall, year of down. But guess what happens afterwards? Really, really good things, right? Yes, we are still very early, well on our way to the next top of this next halving cycle, which is coming next year. Here's another shorter time frame view, right, of what happened in 2019 and what's happening in 2023. Yes, we did have a pullback recently, right? But it was healthy. Nothing to be panicked over. And many people panic dump, and now they regret it. Now that we are back up to 25,000 anyone that panic dump under 20,000 severely regrets it, right? This is why you don't want to do anything rash. You don't want to just panic sell, because usually it leads to losses. Now those people that panic sold under 20, they probably bought back in at 24, 25. Now they have less Bitcoin than they started with. That's the problem when you panic sell, right? That's why you don't want to do that. You want to stay calm, keep accumulating, DCA over long term. That's the winning strategy, And you know what? Other things like smart contracts. Stacks, which is like a layer 2 for Bitcoin for smart contracts and basically programmable dApps, right? All-time high. This is fantastic, right? Even though I do think there's better suited chains for this, but there are a lot of dApp makers coming on board to stacks to program on top of Bitcoin. So the utility is still growing. Who knows where it may end up, right? But that is also fantastic. And this is led by NFTs. These NFTs are getting hot now with Bitcoin. There's so many goodness that's happening right now in the space. That's why you guys need to stay strong, stay focused, and continue to DCA. That's just that simple. Outside of this, outside of Bitcoin, what else is there? A couple altcoin news. Filecoin is jumping. A lot of you guys know about Filecoin's decentralized storage play, right? But they do want to add on their own layer 1 and become a full-fledged L1 through their own virtual machine. They want to become an L1, right? So that's why a lot of people are excited. This is supposed to be added on tomorrow. We'll see how this goes, right? So very exciting. Filecoin is jumping into the space. You also have Polygon, which is one of my favorite projects. They have partnered up with Unstoppable Domains to launch .polygon domains, in case you're interested. But of course, Unstoppable Domains have a lot of top-level domains like .crypto and .nft and many other things. Now they have .polygon. Interesting. And also Polygon, they have a lot of NFT marketplace, a lot of brands working with them, right? And their Reddit partnership, the avatars, growing by leaps and bounds, over 50 million in market cap. That is quite a lot, quite a lot. And lastly, this has nothing to do with crypto, but yet it does. Today, Microsoft launched, a lot of you guys have been asking why, like some of the AI plays started going up, because Microsoft backed OpenAI now released their new GPT-4, which can generate text and images together. This is interesting. So now you could tell it to come up with like a creative story, and it can supplement it with pictures, okay? But OpenAI and ChatGPT has become so smart. Someone decided to, hey, throw in the Ethereum virtual machine contract code, right? And have it point out vulnerabilities. And it was able to, and even provided fixes. So not only did it point out, but it found fixes. That's how smart ChatGPT is. It's actually wild. Hopefully, if there are vulnerabilities, they get patched ASAP, but it could have been old code. I think it was old code, but still, the fact that it can check your smart contracts, every project out there should be utilizing this to check their smart contracts. That's quite amazing. All right, guys. That's all for today. Let's do some Q&A. Oh, yes. Speaking of which, I saw this. I got to show you guys. I don't wish this upon anyone, but I always talk about the dangers of leverage. So supposedly this guy out of Korea got liquidated by $1 million. Okay, not just on the short side, apparently on both sides. He was so desperate. So someone here on this side says, I actually watched this live stream. He had a short open from 21K, got liquidated. Then He opened another revenge short, got liquidated. Then he opened a revenge long, got liquidated. Then he opened another revenge long, got liquidated. So he tried to short and revenge short. Then he's like, F it, let me go long, got liquidated. And then long again, got liquidated. And he lost $1 million. Now, of course, he probably has more, but who knows? Maybe he doesn't have more. $1 million is $1 million. To lose it all like that in a blink of an eye, that sucks. And who wins? Who wins overall? The exchange does. The exchange is collecting the fees. So he lost $1 million, yet the exchange, I can't tell who this is it Binance or Bybit, whoever it is, right? Just collected a whole bunch of fees. Yeah, this is the dangers of leverage. All right, let's do some Q&A. Is there any way to find out how many new BTC wallets have been made in the last 48 hours? I'm sure there is if you look at a Glassnode or something. I did not pull it up, but I'm sure there's a way. Sure, there's a way to do it. Who can fire Powell? I'm assuming Biden. Not that he would want to do that because no one else would want that job. Go Leafs, go. Appreciate that sticker. Let's see. Scrolling. Still scrolling. DCA every week is the way. Tomorrow will be interesting. I'm going to pull up my DCA portfolio tomorrow, and we should be in much better shape because of this week. So far, I do not drive a Nissan Leaf. I would never drive a Nissan Leaf. I would never drive any Nissan, to be to be quite frank. Nissans do not. I lost faith in Nissan. Let's just put it that way. Phil, all in on AGIX or Veracity? No, I would not do so. Sato is being funded by Bybit. It's marketing. Why would they want to show someone getting liquidated by $1 million? That's horrible marketing. They should make it so that he wins. That Korean guy made over $700K the week before, now lost it all. I mean, that's usually how it is. People that win at leverage a couple times, they think they're the smartest people on earth. And you know what? They get greedy, and then they do it again and again and again. Eventually, it's like, you know, the house wins. I don't know who this guy is. I just found it on Twitter. A lot of people talking about how he got liquidated by $1 million. I mean, that's just insane amount of money to be liquidated. I would love to get a Bronco Raptor, okay, but still big markup on them. I just got a Escalade V series, the new Escalade V. I'll tell you that exhaust is probably on the top of any car I have ever tested or driven. That exhaust is so good. Overall, the SUV is really good, very powerful, but man, that exhaust is to die for. I'm not joking. Cadillac nailed it, or GM nailed it. That is one of the most beautiful exhausts you'll ever hear. SecureX Cold Wallet. Eli, never heard of them, but You know, any cold storage wallet, as long as they're legit, should be pretty good. This is cold storage. It's not connected to the internet. So that means you can't really hack it. And as long as they provide a very secure, you know, recovery phrase, which you can use to access the private key and recover to some other wallet, you're good. You're good. I mean, it doesn't matter. People saying, "Oh, that guy, chump change, you know, $1 million chump change." It doesn't matter. If you're a billionaire, you still think, you know, you want to lose $1 million due to leverage? No, it's silly. Even if you're Elon, you had 100 billion, 200 billion. No one wants to lose $1 million like that. That's just a stupid way to be losing it. Donate it to charity or do something better with it, right? It doesn't matter how rich you are. $1 million liquidation is stupid and insane, and it just shouldn't happen. Mullen Automotive, never heard of it. Never heard of it. You don't know what a Ford Bronco Raptor? Come on, man. Tyler, I got to take your man car away. Do you think car dealerships will ever go back to normal? Yes, eventually. But right now, there's still supply shortage. But eventually it'll get back to normal. Pat Jr. When is CZ buy? I have no idea. No idea. He has $1 billion he's ready to deploy. Not all on Bitcoin, though. BTC, ETH, and BNB. So we'll see. We'll see how much he buys. And more importantly, when is he buying? I don't know. I don't know. Could be any day. Could be any day. Patrick, I appreciate it. Yeah, even RAV4 has a huge markup right now. I'm no fan of markups at all, obviously. You know, it's hurting dealerships. Right now, they claim, oh, you know, we're broke. We need to charge more to, you know, pay our salespeople, right? But long run, they are doing themselves a disservice. Many people are ticked off. You know, people hate dealerships to begin with. Now, do you think they're going to like dealerships more? No. People hate dealerships even more because now you have to pay a markup on cars, even everyday cars. I can understand maybe you accept it on the high-end exotic cars, luxury cars, but even on a RAV4 or a CRV, you're paying above MSRP? That's ridiculous. You know, I think the dealerships, they have their way right now, but later on, they'll realize they lost a ton of new potential clients and customers. This is why more and more people are being driven to Tesla because people don't want to play that game. You can order any Tesla, no above MSRP pricing, no negotiations, right? This is why a lot of luxury manufacturers are dying due to Tesla because people hate dealing with dealers. I work for AutoNation Toyota, and we don't charge a markup. Is that all of AutoNation? Because I don't think so. Because there's like 3 dealerships around me that's AutoNation, and I do believe they mark up. So I don't know. Anything on HNT? I saw that Binance.us is delisting HNT, Helium. I don't know why, but they are. What if Satoshi Nakamoto identity is revealed? Is it going to crash the market? No, because he has no power anymore. Even if you wanted to change things, he can't. The only thing he could do is sell his Bitcoin if he wanted to. He does have 1 million Bitcoin, but outside of that, no one really cares. Evo 8, 620 wheel horsepower. That is a beast. That is a beast, but I bet that turbo lag is pretty bad. Probably complemented with some NOS or something. Crypto Coach, shouldn't you even need dealerships? Order your vehicle online, get it shipped to your house. I agree. I agree. That's the new model, but all these manufacturers, they want to do that, but they can't because they have these licensing deals to these dealer, like, not to a dealer network. It's not even to individual dealers. It's like this dealer network where it's just like a group that controls things. And, you know, it's a really weird relationship. I've talked to many manufacturers directly, and they've said that. It's like, we want to sell it directly to consumers, but we can't. We have this weird relationship with them. So they want to change. Manufacturers don't want to see customers get turned away due to high markups right now, but they're kind of, you know, their hands are tied behind their back. Did I buy more Coinbase stock? I did pick them up a little bit yesterday. One more call option. Next all-time high, I get a Range Rover Sport. That's a very nice car, but I can never get myself to buy a Range Rover because I feel like they spend more time at the shop than at your house. And everyone that ever owned a Range Rover will say the same thing. I haven't met or heard of any Range Rover owners that say, oh yeah, my car's trouble-free. Never, ever in the history of Range Rover has anyone ever said that. That's the reason why I won't buy a Range Rover. See, Robert agrees with me. The new ones, though, do look really, really nice. Range Rovers definitely look very, very nice, but you just can't trust them. Buy one and document your ownership with it. I don't have time for that. I don't want to waste money with that. Jan, I have no idea. And do me a favor, Jan. Every response to me, you have the @CryptosRUs, and I've said that's my pet peeve, so I appreciate it if you stop doing that. You could ask questions, but don't do @CryptosRUs. Ice says, my wife owns a Range Rover. You couldn't be more right. I mean, I'm telling you, every single person, you can't meet a Range Rover owner. It's just impossible to meet one that says, yeah, my Range Rover is trouble-free. Zero. It doesn't exist. Yet, many people still continue to buy them. VI Jokers. I appreciate it. I do. I had two, and both trannies went bad at 75K. Yeah. Do you like Porsche? I do. I've never driven one, never owned one. I'd love to get a GT3, maybe even GT4. GT4 is much cheaper. It's still not cheap. But I love to get a GT3 or a 911 Turbo. It's MK. Thank you. Is this actually a BTC recovery, or what do you call it, bull trap? I think it's the word. It's whatever you think, Dan. The simple fact that you're asking that shows that you're leaning towards the latter, so I'm not going to disagree with you, but that's not how I feel. And you should know that by now. I never had a trouble-free car. I mean, I had many. I had many. You should get a G-Wagon. They have dropped a lot in price. I have test-driven one. They're not that comfortable. They're actually kind of small. When I was shopping for a winter car, I test drove a G-Wagon, which at the time was very, very, very overpriced, even the used one. And then I test drove a GLS, and the GLS was better in every single way, so I bought a GLS. But the only thing that GLS doesn't surpass the G-Wagon with is the resale value. G-Wagon's resale value is still really good. GLS is not so good. But the GLS is very nice, full size. It's kind of like full/mid-size luxury SUV. Norman, appreciate that. My Nissan Murano was trouble-free. Is that first gen? Because first gen was really good. First gen, I had a first gen too. My wife did. It was really good until the end. The muffler had problems. One of her seat rails broke. But it was very good for a long time. How long do we have to wait for the fallout of Silvergate? I mean, we're already seeing other banks fail, like SV Bank. You know, what's the other one? Signature and First Republic and others, Charles Schwab, they had their scare. Doesn't mean that it went away. There could be more failures. We don't know. We don't know. And all of them, I mean, yeah, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them got bailed out, right? And I'm sure like Silvergate now and SV Bank and Signature, they could probably apply. I don't know if they can because they, you know, essentially FDIC took over them. But I was thinking they could take advantage of the Fed facility loan too if they wanted to. If they're given that option, I don't know if they can take advantage of that. Cal, what's your thoughts on Audi e-tron? It's okay, but the range sucks. All Audi EVs range is around 220. I think at most like 240. Like it's not competitive compared to Teslas. I thought the e-tron drove very well. It looks big, but it's actually pretty small on the inside. The Model Y is much bigger than the e-tron. e-tron's quality is better, but the range sucks. Range sucks. All right, guys. Let's call it a stream. We're right under 24 or 25,000. Right? We'll see what tomorrow brings. But today we had a bit of excitement, maybe more. Maybe more. And I do think next week's Fed meeting will be very, very, very important. And I do think, I'm calling it, I think it's going to be a 0% raise. We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Tune in tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Last question, Dan. If a bank gets bailed out, does that mean the government owns it? Pretty much. Pretty much. It's part of the assets on their balance sheet. Yes, pretty much. Unless they get someone to buy it from them. All right, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.